All right, so let's get started. Actually, in class, what we did yesterday, we downloaded MySQL and MongoDB, but I see that a lot of Windows people was having trouble. There was this problem where when you download MySQL, there was a failed, and like you couldn't proceed, and you had to like install Visual Studios. Even though you had it, it didn't work. And actually, Saim Bhai, I was with him after class, and he found a way around. So I hope this is gonna work. So let me just start by I've installed everything, so I'm gonna go from the beginning, and hopefully it's not gonna take too long. So I'll start off with downloading my MySQL, and I was thinking like I'm gonna go through the installation. If you guys have any issues with your Windows and stuff, I think we can cover it, and we can take it after I've shown everything. Maybe there is something that you haven't seen and whatnot. But if you guys have any questions, just let me know. And Fahim is here as well if you guys have Mac. Let's start with simply downloading MySQL. So I'm gonna just because and another thing, like if you guys still are having problem after today, come to campus tomorrow, because me, Fahim, Anand, like a couple of more guys are gonna be there. So I mean, it's a lot easier to see and solve a problem in front of the computer instead of me doing it from far away. Anyway, let's just start with MySQL download. So I simply go to MySQL website, and when we go to the download section, there is going to be a lot of options. Just ignore everything and go all the way down, because we need the community edition, and that's what I'm going to download. We don't need the other stuff. And then once I click on community download, where I'm just simply gonna click on the community server, the most top one. We don't have to go through anything else. These are like if you want to download something separately and whatnot. Let's just go for community server and scroll down. And here is a download page, but I didn't download any of these. Instead, I clicked on this go to a download page. So I didn't download the zip files. I just went to go to download page. And once we come in here, now you're gonna see that we have installer we can download. And I'm basically gonna install the full version, 378 M. And it doesn't matter that it says 32-bit, but even if you have 64, so don't worry about that. So let's just download. And you don't have to log in, sign up, or anything. Just click on no thanks. Just start my download. Pretty straightforward. And I'm just gonna check if I have it downloaded. I don't remember. All right, you know what? Because I have it downloaded, I'm just gonna cancel the download, because it's gonna take a couple of minutes. So once you download it, you're basically gonna be shown with this MySQL installer community. Just simply double click on it. Should come up any second now. After we have downloaded MySQL, instead of setting it up with IntelliJ, I'm gonna put a hold on that. I'll just move on to MongoDB, and then we'll see what happened afterwards. It's taking a long time. Another thing you guys can download is, in order for you to connect it to IntelliJ, we can download MySQL connector J. If you Google this, Moses, today, like we're planning from 6 to 7 p.m. approximately. I'm gonna go through the Windows installation, and Fahim's gonna go through the Mac installation. Then after 7 to 8 approximately, I think we'll talk about data structures, cover a couple of data structures, and then after 8, I don't remember exactly, I think it was if I am showing a simple connection, I think to MySQL or something like that. And you guys are gonna need this MySQL connector J. So if you Google this as well and download it, let me put the link here for you guys if you are looking for this. And let's return to MySQL. Seems like we just simply have to accept and hit on next. Is connector J also in this side, rather? Okay, then that's pretty straightforward. I guess we don't need connector J. I'm just waiting on the window to pop up. It takes a bit of time for me. All right, so you're gonna have a page pop up like this, and we simply just read through this. No, I'm just kidding. We just hit on accept and we click on next. And here, what I did, I went to custom, but I think because I think I'm gonna go with full because I don't wanna like download like separately. Because in custom, I can go to custom and I can select simply like server, workbench, and so on. So let me just, or you know what, I'm not gonna download full because it's gonna take a lot of time of the mentoring. But if you guys download, it's your preference. You can, even if you go with custom, you can install later. But if you want to go to full, but I'm gonna go to custom right now because I don't want to take up too much time. So if you go to custom, you can simply select the MySQL server and put it over by clicking on the green arrow, and then open applications. There is a lot of stuff, but for right now, I'm not gonna use any of those. For simplicity, just gonna use Workbench, and these are the two I'm downloading. But but I guess you could download the full version, and I'm just gonna hit on next. All right. Is there any problems? A connection? Yeah, okay, yeah, let's include the connector J as well. That's pretty good to have. So for simplicity, I only have these three, but if you want, just install the whole thing. And let's click on next. And this is a window I get because I already have a path on my computer under program data, so this shouldn't come up if you don't have a path. But if you have, you shouldn't worry about it too much. Just click on next, and then we should be presented with a page like this, ready to install. And we just have a button where we can execute this, and it's gonna install through everything. And this is where a lot of you guys were facing problems. And I don't know exactly if this is the solution, but let me just go to the control panel and let's go to the programs. I'm just going to check what I have, because if sometimes when you, for a couple of guys, when you install MySQL, instead of saying like ready, complete, it's going to say failed. So in that case, a workaround that could work is go to programs and features, and look at what versions of Microsoft Visual you have downloaded. if you don't, let's say you have 2015, but you only have one version, let's say 64, then you should also try to download the 86. So you should have the both versions. No, Sukanta, this is the installation is only going to be till like approximately 7 p.m. But then we're going to go through data structures and awesome stuff. Fahim is going to show connecting to database, I think. So if you guys were having problem here, if this wasn't completing for you, it says failed. Usually says in the error where you have to install Microsoft Visual. So there is, you can actually go and download this if this is a problem for you. We simply say Microsoft Visual Studios. All right, Hussein, that's pretty good, pretty awesome. So if you Google this, Microsoft Visual Studios redistributable. Yeah, Syed, actually, the thing is, Syed, a lot of people, it worked if you just updated or reinstalled the Visual Studios, but I saw that a couple of other guys were having the same problem, but they had to install it manually. So I guess you could, it depends on the computer. So if you are having issue, if it doesn't work through MySQL, you could try to download this, whatever I have posted in the chat. And then depending on what version you have, like 2013 or 15, you can simply Google it, like 2013 or 15, and download it from Microsoft.com. If you download for Visual Studios, it's gonna, I don't think it's gonna work. But since I have everything, let's see how far I am. So it's pretty good. Not that I know of, Hussein, because when I set it up, I didn't use any path. Actually, we're gonna set up a path when we set up MongoDB. All right, so now it shows that I'm totally complete. And again, if you had a failed, try to update Visual Studios, or if you go to Program and Features, if you see that there is a version missing, try to install the missing version. So if you have 86, install 64 as well, and the other way around. And again, if you guys still have problem after the mentoring, just come down to campus tomorrow and we'll figure it out. And simply click on next. Here you don't have to do anything, just click on next. We don't have to configure any connectivity and so on. We just leave it as it is. Click on next. And here, put up root password. Just put a simple password that you would remember. I had like some complicated stuff, but let me just put my current root password because I am reinstalling. I'm gonna have to put my current. So, but put whatever you guys want, anything that you guys would remember. And then we're gonna add a user as well by clicking on add user, and put really anything, but to keep it simple, maybe put your name. I'm gonna put Ibrahim, and I would say repeat the same password as you put here. This is just for us, you know, it's only us that we are the only ones using this computer. When we go to real life, you don't probably need to set all this up. But just put the same password, add user, and put the same password. And just remember it or write it down somewhere. And click on next. And here we don't have to do anything as well. Just click on next, next. And now we simply have to execute. So it's gonna go through all of these processes to make sure that everything is okay. Should be pretty straightforward. And you guys remember where Mr. Muffy was having problem on the campus computer? Sorry, there was an error message showing up. I was I googled it up, and basically the computer is really old, and he needed to update the computer and whatnot. So that's why it didn't work for us in class. But once we're pretty much done, just click on finish and click on next. And you can choose if you want to start MySQL Workbench, but I'm going to avoid that for now. So I'm going to uncheck that and click on finish. So we should be pretty good to go. Let me just check that I have it. If I search for MySQL in the search bar, I'm going to get a couple of options. Because I did custom, I don't get a whole menu, so I'm simply going to select on MySQL command line. And when you open the MySQL command line, it's simply going to ask for a password, and you just put your password, whichever you use to, create the account, or the root password basically, and you're pretty much good to go. You don't need to do a lot more after this. Now it's simply, running the queries, and that we can leave for later. Does anyone still have problems with installing MySQL for Windows? Pretty straightforward. All right, so I'm gonna move to MongoDB, and I'm gonna actually install MongoDB in IntelliJ as well. So let's just start with downloading MongoDB. So we simply go to Google and say MongoDB, or you can say MongoDB download, or whatever, and then go to their main website. In their website, you're gonna have a download button on the top. Just click on that, and when we come to this page, you're gonna have to go to the tab where it says Community Server. There's a lot of options here, but don't worry about it. Just click on Community Server. And we shouldn't change anything here, I think. Just go with the standard and download. I'm just gonna check if I have it downloaded. All right, I need to download it. And it's just gonna start to download now. What I did in the beginning, like when Mr. Murphy told us to download it on Saturday, I actually created an account and everything. I didn't know that. We didn't need that. But I went through all the process to create an account and set up everything. But that's unnecessary, I think. Yeah, for you guys, if you're not reading the chat, Fahim is saying that install Homebrew if you are using Mac, if you don't have it already, because he's gonna go through how to install it on Mac. So I should be done with my download. Let's see. Well, once you download, you're gonna get a similar, installer. Just simply click on MongoDB, the installer, and you're gonna see a window like this. So we just simply click on next, and we read through all of this, and we click on accept, next, and we just choose complete. We don't do custom, we choose complete, and simply click on install. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but while it's downloading, actually what I'm gonna do, you're gonna need to create a new folder in a local disk, because once the MongoDB is set up, and if you try to run it, execute it, it's not gonna work. It's gonna look for a path. Sorry. So let's just create a path in local disk C drive. You can do it in two ways. You can either do it in your command line, CMD, or you can do it from, by right-clicking and so on. Yes. All right, so let's just create a folder. Let's go to new folder and call this data. Yep. This is what happens when you have a really great computer. Okay, once you created a data folder, just go inside it and create a new folder called DB. DB. And that's it. You don't have to do anything for now. So let's just go back to Mongo, the installer, and click on Finish. If I win the lotto this week, I'll get you a new laptop. Man, thank you, man. All right, so now we've set out a path, and now actually let me just check that I have it downloaded. Let me just go to C drive. I think it was in program files. Yeah, C drive program files, and then MongoDB. Yeah, we have it here. Server 3.4 bin. Okay, so now that we have it downloaded, we're gonna actually have to set it up in our environment variable. If you have Windows, in Mac, I don't think it's necessary at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna right-click on computer, go to my advanced system settings, and click on environment variables. So I'm just gonna set up a path for MongoDB. So let's find our way. Let's keep environment variable on the side for now, and let's find our way to MongoDB by going to the C drive. And if you didn't configure or touch anything in the installation, it should be under program files. And just simply navigate to MongoDB, open the server 3.4 folder, and open the bin. And this is the path. If you click up here, this is the path we're gonna have to copy. So I'm just gonna copy this path, and let's go back to environment variable. So this was another problem couple of guys encountered in class. For me, it worked that I put my the MongoDB path in the user variables for local account, but for some it worked when you put in variables and not in the local account. So it should work in local account, the top one. But if it doesn't work, just put in both or either one. Try your way, try your way and see what happens. So I'm just gonna click on path and edit. And because I'm using Windows 8, this is kind of a different interface, kind of different design than Windows 10. So if you have Windows 8, you simply you don't have to touch any of this. You just leave it be, and you put a semicolon, and just simply paste in the path. By putting semicolon, you're separating the different paths. So now just simply click on OK. And I'm actually gonna do the same for system variables, just in case. Semicolon to separate the other path and paste. And click on OK. So now we have the path set up. We'll just click on OK. OK. File behind the step, creating a path from which file? We don't have to create a path. Actually, what we're gonna have to do, you have to go to the environment variables, and we have to go to advanced system settings and environment variables. In here, you remember when we set up, JDK in the beginning of the Java class, just like we did with the path, Java home. We're gonna have to do the same. When we come here, if it doesn't work for you, actually try to put it in the top one, user variables. Just edit and add the path. Separate it with a semicolon if you are using this kind of interface. And I noticed that it didn't work for everyone, so a couple of guys also added in the system variables path. But I did for both, just for the hell of it. And basically, I'm going to explain what this does in a second. But did you get it, Anand? All right, now that we have the path set up, let's open the DOS prompt, CMD. So just open the command prompt. And Most of you guys should be pretty familiar with this, but if you're not, just it should work by simply typing in MongoD, because when you type in like this MongoD, it's gonna look for a path. You remember the path where I created in the C drive? I created a folder called data, and within that I created a folder called DB. So whenever I say MongoD in the command prompt, let's hit enter. It's gonna come a lot of rumbled up stuff. So this basically means that if you look in the data and DB, there are a bunch of stuff here now. So if you guys have kept up with me this far, then let us go to IntelliJ. Actually, what I talked about, the environment variable, if you didn't have the environment variable set up, actually you would have to navigate to MongoD, which is, you remember, it is in the C drive, program files, and so on. So you would have to navigate all the way into that, bin folder, and then type in MongoD. But because we set up the variable, the environment variable, just simply typing in MongoD in anywhere you are, it's gonna start up. It's gonna set up connections and network and stuff. So now that we're done with this, let us go to IntelliJ. Yeah, so let me just create wait a second. Okay, let's just go to File, and we can go to Settings in IntelliJ. Yeah, I'm gonna add the plugin. So if you click on File, Settings in IntelliJ, you're gonna basically get a new window, and we have an option called Plugins. So here you can simply search for Mongo, and if it doesn't come by searching here, you can simply click on the Browse repositories down here. So click on that, and here you can search for Mongo. So either way, if you search for Mongo here and it doesn't come, just go to Browse repositories, and Mongo is gonna be available here. So it says Mongo plugin install. So we just simply click on install, and it's gonna take a second or two. And now we're actually gonna have to restart IntelliJ. So let me just do that. Hit on apply, okay, and click on the restart button. And just give it a second. It's taking a little bit of time, just bear with me. And actually, I tried to execute a couple of commands with MongoDB and IntelliJ. It's pretty cool. Like, the commands are pretty similar to actually coding. But I'm not gonna go through them right now. Actually, I did some notes here, if you guys can see, like, dot drop database, or like dot players dot insert. It's kind of like coding. As where MySQL, it's a different query. I find IntelliJ to be much slower than Eclipse in general, but once I got used to IntelliJ, I found it way cooler because it's easier to program. I don't know about you guys. You could set all of this up in Eclipse as well. I just don't know exactly how. I haven't done that, but it would be preferred if you do it in IntelliJ. All right, so now that we have opened IntelliJ, there is a search button on the upper right corner. If you can see my mouse, just simply click on that. And then I think it should work by saying Mongo. If you type in Mongo, you're gonna get something called Mongo Explorer. So just simply click on that. And you're now gonna get a new window here. So you're actually gonna have to set up a server. So what we can do is click on this kind of settings button. And when you click on that, you're gonna get a new window. And here you have to set up the path to Mongo Shell. So we do it by simply click on the button where it's 3 dots. And here we have to navigate. You know, you guys remember where I put my MongoDB? It was in program files, or actually I didn't put it. It was put there by default. So simply go under C drive, program files, and then you're gonna have to navigate to MongoDB. And in MongoDB, when you open this, you're gonna see 3.4 bin. Just open all the way, all the way, and then select mongo.exe. Not anything else, just simply mongo.exe. And click on OK. And then now that we're done that, there's a test button. Just click on it to see that it's pretty much good to go. So there's a green arrow, green sign, so we're pretty much good to go. So now let's see here. Let's click on this plus sign. And now we're actually gonna add a server. And you can label it anything you want. For our simplicity, I'm just gonna name it Selenium. But you can add it to anything you want. And we don't have to configure anything else, as far as I know, actually, for now at least. Just for this startup, just enter a label and click on OK. And hit on apply. And OK. And now you see we have this small thing where it says Selenium. Here's another thing. Before you actually connect to this server, you remember where I went to command prompt and said MongoD? So every time when you are in IntelliJ and you want to connect to the Mongo Explorer, you're actually first going to have to come to command prompt and type in MongoD. And you're going to have to leave this window open, command prompt open, because this basically means that you are starting the server. Let me just close this down. If I try to connect now, this is not going to work. It's just going to, load and load. So if you guys are having trouble with this, just make sure that you have the command prompt open and you say MongoD and hit enter. It's basically going to start up everything for you. And now you can right-click Selenium and click on connect, or if you're connected, just refresh. And you're pretty much good to go. Now you see that we have an admin, we have local. If you select admin and click on this button, which is kind of like a shell command prompt, if you click on this, you're gonna get this part below here. So this is where actually you would execute the queries. But that's not what I'm gonna go through right now. That's a different part. But this is basically, this is it. You've set up MongoDB and MySQL. I haven't set up MySQL to Eclipse or IntelliJ. I think Fahim is going to show some of that. For you guys with Windows, is there any problem for you guys? If not, I'm pretty much done.
Good stuff, man. All right. All right. So let me just talk about Mac real quick before I give you before you start data structures. Yes.
All right. Should I make you a presenter?
I could do it since I'm organizer as well.
All right. I'll mute myself.
So when you're dealing with Mac, we we have terminal, right? And in Mac, we could use homebrews. So once again, just open terminal. If you don't have homebrew installed, you could simply just go to download homebrew, and it'll be this link right here. And then you would just copy and paste this URL. You just copy and paste it, and just paste it inside your terminal. That's if you don't have homebrew installed. But since I already have it installed, I'm just gonna talk about installing MySQL. So this is a website. I'm gonna link it in the chat. If you guys are using Mac, make sure you save that, or you could just Google it. Right, it's there as well. But this is how you install MySQL on Mac. Right, if the operating system, if you have Sierra. So once you have Homebrew installed, you're gonna want to open up Terminal, and then you want to enter the following command. And I already have MySQL installed, so let me just. All right. So if you if you don't, you're supposed to get this result, right? If you don't have it installed. If you don't, then just brew install MySQL. So you're gonna just type in brew install MySQL, right? I'm not gonna hit enter. It's already I already installed it. And once you entered it, it gives you the expected output, and then you make sure it matches up with this, right? And if it does, then you're gonna move on to the next step, which is where you type in brew install MySQL, and that's where you're gonna install your SQL, right? So once this is done, this is additional configuration, but this helps as well. So just type in brew tab home brew services, and then you're gonna type in this command, and then you're basically following this. It's that easy in Mac, right? You just follow these commands and see if it works out. So a lot of people have issue when it comes to this part. So once you've done everything here on the top, now you want to open terminal and execute the following command to set the root your password. So you're going to type in this command, and whatever you put inside this single quotation, this is going to be your password, right? So once you enter this, you're probably going to get an error and say that it's going to say something like no, and like you have to you can't do it. So once you've done this step, you basically already created your password, right? Then all you need to do is simply just type in MySQL root and -p, right? This is all you got to type in, and then whatever password you put here, just put it in, and you're already in MySQL. That's it. So basically, just follow these steps, right? It's just like 5 steps. So that's it for MySQL. MySQL is already installed in your Mac. Any questions on that? Anyone have questions on downloading MySQL for their Mac? All right. So this part was pretty easy, right? This is why I love Mac. Homebrew makes everything easy. So now let's go to MongoDB. First, what Ibrahim said, that the IntelliJ ID, right? If you want to download the Mongo Explorer, so just go when open on your Mac. If you have IntelliJ, just click on this magnifying glass and just type in Mongo. I mean, not Mongo. It was plugins, right? You're gonna type in plugins, and you're gonna click on this right here underneath actions, not symbols, not files, not classes. Click on this plugins right here. So once you're here, you're gonna type in Mongo, right? And it already shows it for me, but it's gonna tell you to click on the repository files because it's not there. You're gonna click on the repository files, and once you click on the repository files, you're gonna type in Mongo, and this will show up, and then you're gonna install it, right? After you're done installing, it's going to tell you it's going to reset your ID, right? It's going to reset IntelliJ. And then once you restarted IntelliJ, all you have to do is go back to the magnifying glass and just type in Mongo, and you'll see Mongo Explorer. Just double click on that. Okay, just click on it, and you'll see it pop up right here, right? So now you're going to click on Settings, Configuration Settings, and all you need to do is click on the plus sign and just give it a name, and if you want to give it a name or anything, great. So let's just say my server. Okay, and I'm press apply and okay. So here I have my server, right? But right now I cannot connect to this because I don't have MongoDB running. As what Ibrahim said, you need to have it running in order to connect it, right? But first, there's for people who haven't installed MongoDB yet, I'm just gonna post this in the chat. So you're gonna follow this, right? So you're just gonna brew install MongoDB, and that's it, right? And now you need to create the directory. But here, this isn't correct, right? So you're gonna have to use this one right here. You're gonna have to create the folder. You're gonna have to say sudo space make directory space -p, and then make the data in DB folder, right? And then give yourself permission. So once this happens, then you're able to run MongoDB, right? So let me just quit from. So if I say MongoDB, the same thing pops up that popped up to Ibrahim and stuff. And now if I go back to IntelliJ, I should be able to connect to this. And now you see it, the admin and local right here. Could you add both links to the chat? I signed into my Mac. Yeah, sure. So this is MySQL. And this is MongoDB. And for MongoDB, I'm just gonna see if I can, oops. Alright, I can't post anything. I'm just gonna post it in the Hangouts. I can't post an image, so I'm just gonna post it in Hangouts. But you're gonna use this picture for the MongoDB part when you're trying to make the directory. Alright. Yeah, you just gotta follow the those steps basically. That's it. You don't gotta worry about setting up anything. Alright, that's it. Anyone else have questions? If you guys are still facing issues, after class, me and Ibrahim can help you guys out. We don't want to waste that much time in installation for right now. All right. So no questions. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to data structures. So Ibrahim, you can take the next step. So we're done with this, right? I'm just gonna put green.
Thank you. So now that we're done with the installation pretty much, I was thinking that I was going to go through some of the data, like data structures. And to be honest, like I wouldn't be able to explain it theoretically by heart. So I figured I'm just gonna jump right into the code and try to kind of improvise and work my way on that. So I'm not gonna show like a bunch of pictures on how linked lists work and hash maps works and stuff. I'm gonna try to just talk my way through it, and we'll see how far we go with that. Yeah, I'm briefly gonna go through maps like hash map, and then I'm gonna talk about like linked hash map and tree map. All right, I'm gonna give you guys an overview. So basically, I'm not gonna go too much into detail, but I'm basically gonna show in coding how we can use array list and linked list. I'm briefly gonna talk about like the differences, not too much, just briefly. And then I will talk about hash map, and within hash map we have linked hash map, we have something called tree map, and there are a bunch of more, but I'm not gonna cover those. And then I guess we're gonna talk about stack and queue. Simply explain the differences with those. Differences. So that should be what I'm covering about today. But as I said, I'm not gonna go through a bunch of pictures and use like a lot of technical terms like node, next, and stuff. I know it's good if I use those terms, but I'm not too familiar because, to be honest, this is also pretty new to me as well. So I'm just gonna go in my pace. Let's just start off with creating a project in IntelliJ, and let's just call this mentoring underscore 21st. All right, so let me just create a package real quick. Package, and let's call it mentoring as well. Mentoring 21st. I just saw that I named my folder wrongly, but that doesn't matter. Let's just create a class, and let's call this application. I like to use those two words, main and application. All right, so now that we're in IntelliJ, there are a couple of shortcuts you guys probably know by now. If you say PSVM, public static void main, basically a shortcut, and if you hit on enter, it's gonna give you a public static void main. Sorry. So let me just start off with simply writing a code with array list. You guys are pretty familiar with array list by now. But this is just kind of like a brief brush up because I'm going to talk about linked list as well. So we have something, we can call this diamond brackets or generics. And within here, we have to specify what type I'm going to be putting in. So in this case, let me just say string, because whatever I'm going to put inside the array list, I'm just going to put it as string values. And let's just give it a name called list equals new array list. And there are a couple of ways you can import actually in IntelliJ. If you just type in array, and you can see here on you have this list. If you double click or just hit enter on array list, it's automatically gonna import for you. You don't have to import separately. Or if you don't do that, let me just retype this array list. If you just keep going like this, without hitting enter and importing. Let me just finish this up. Click import. So you're gonna get a red error message. You can simply click on Alt and enter. Alt and enter, and it's gonna show you import class. So those are two ways you can do it. And you guys know also that this is dynamic. We don't have to put in a certain, we don't have to say that it's gonna be 10 capacity and so on. We can put, but this is kind of the main difference between a regular array and array list, that this is dynamic. And you guys know that we can say list dot, and when we say dot, for array list we have add, we have remove, and so on. So let me just add a couple of items. Let me copy this and let's have 5. And let's just put like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pretty straightforward. And now that we have added a bunch of things, we can iterate through it by using either iterator, or we can use a for each loop. We can use a regular for loop. Actually, I stumbled upon something really cool. Sorry, I want to show you guys. There is a for each loop, but this is for Java, Java 8, and so it's kind of like new. I don't know if you guys know this, but if I say, because this is called list, my array list is called list, I can simply say list dot, and I can say for each. So list dot for each, and within the parentheses I can say system dot out, and instead of putting dot, I have to put double colon, and here I have to say print ln. So this is pretty much as creating a for each loop, which is something like this. We say for, then within this for each loop, because we're using string, we say string, and x is simply a local variable that I will use to iterate through this list. And then I have to specify the list, the name of the array list. And here is another shortcut for system.out. You simply say SOUT, kind of like shout. So SOUT, and hit on enter. So you're gonna get a system.out and print. And we put the variable we're gonna iterate through. So this for each loop is exactly the same as saying list.forEach, and then within parentheses system.out, double colon, and print ln. I just wanted to show you guys. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. And because we've gone this far, let me just include an iterator as well. Let's use list iterator. And again, because I am using a string, I have to specify that. So I can say string, and then here I'm going to put whatever I want to call this. I can call this list, list2, or whatever. But for simplicity, let's just call it list iterator with a lowercase l, and this is going to be equals the list. So equals list dot list iterator. In class, we actually work with simply using iterator, but we can use list iterator as well. This is just to kind of show you guys that there are so many ways to do one single thing, which I just keep talking about because I think it's pretty cool. So we have to use a while. So while list iterator, while the variable we created. So basically we're saying while this list, and we say dot has next. So basically, while this list has a next line or next node to go to, we're simply gonna print out list iterator dot next. So basically, while the list has something to go, has something on the next step to go to. So it's gonna go to the next and print out, and it's gonna, go through this loop. And you guys know also that we can use a regular for the for loop, right? Let me just do it. For int I is equal 0, and I is less than list dot size, and then we increment it, and then we simply say system.out list dot, I think it was get, and then we simply call on the local variable, which is I. So I just show you guys 4 ways to iterate through a list. The most flexible one is the regular for loop, because at times, I think Fahim has mentioned this as well. If you want to decrement or you want to do something else, a for loop is perfectly, it's perfect for that. It's pretty flexible compared to the other ones, which just goes through the list. Let me just run this and see that it works. It's taking some time. All right, works pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. And now that we have looked at a very simple array list, we can do the exact same with linked list actually, which is important as part of Selenium automation. Moses, I don't know exactly. I think Fahim would be able to answer that properly. He is more knowledgeable. Anand, what do you mean with line 19? It's just another for each loop in a modern version. So when we talk about linked list, we can do the exact same. Instead, we're just gonna say linked list. And then just like we did with the array list, we have to specify what kind of, if we're using string or integer. So you simply just say like that, and let's call this linked list equals new linked list. And I don't know if you guys noticed this in IntelliJ. When we say new whatever list or new stack, new whatever, we don't have to specify generic. Like we don't have to say string, integer. This is actually a matter of preference. Like if you hover above the array list, the string, it's gonna say that it simply can be replaced. So I don't have to say like this, but I prefer to do it because that's what I did in Eclipse, and I think it's just good practice, and I like it. That's the main thing. So there is not a whole lot difference between these. The main difference is like it depends on what you're using it for. And if you look in real life, if you have, let's say, a huge list of maybe thousands of users or thousands of items, then it is maybe better to use one or the other. I don't know exactly which is the faster in what case, but the main difference is basically depending on the situation. Like if you want to be able to retrieve something fast, or you want to be able to add something fast to your list, or you want to be able to remove something fast from the list, you just use depending on what your need is. I think Fahim would be able to cover this more than me, but basically you just use depending on what we kind of work on. But because we're working on like very small stuff in school, maybe when we do our own list, we don't work with more than maybe like 10, 20 items. It doesn't necessarily matter what we use, but it's good to know the differences. Can we remove? Yeah, sure. All right, let me just remove all of these iterators. Let me just keep a for each loop here. So now that we have added, let's remove a couple of items. So now I have a linked list, but let me just work on the array list for now. So if I say list dot, and we got a whole lot of options, and we have something called remove. I think this should work. So basically, when you say list dot remove, here you can say, I think, yeah, this you can say like what index number. If I say 0, then it's going to remove the index 0. And here's another cool thing with IntelliJ. Like if you have a parenthesis like this, and if you put, let's say I want to put the index 1, it's automatically going to pop up like this, like index equals to 1. So whatever you work on, like it's going to show you small references or small. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Very handy. So we remove the index 1, and let me just copy and paste this for each loop to see where we stand right now. So basically I have removed the index 1, which is 2 in this case, the string variable 2. So if we look here, first it prints out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and then it starts from 1, and then it goes to 3, 4, 5. So I remove the first index basically, which is 2 in this case. So this is how you can use remove. I think there's another way you can like do like this, list dot, I don't know if it was size or not. This should work as well. If I say list dot remove, let me redo this. So list dot remove, and let's say you want to remove the, not the last item, but like before the last item. And let's say you don't know what index number that is. So what you can do is within the list remove, you can say list.size. And then you can, if I say -1, then this is going to remove, in this case, the index number 4. So I'm basically saying, give me the whole list and remove the one previous to the top. Does that make sense? So this also works pretty well. Let me run this and see what happens. Works pretty well. Actually, it removed 5. Sorry, my mistake. So if I would say 2, then it would remove 4. So it removed 4 instead. And let me just show you guys in the API. If I go to list API, list is an interface that implements a couple of classes. We have array list, we have linked list, and we have stack, which I'm going to talk about. So if you want to, like, when you create array, array list, linked list, and so on, you don't have to say in the beginning like array list. You can simply say list. And let me just import this. So this works just fine. This is kind of the same thing. Because list is an interface, we're basically saying that we want to create a new array list from the list interface. But then again, I guess it's a matter of preference. Array list. And that's kind of like the basics of array list and linked list. How you add, remove, and so on. Let me just create a new class, and let's briefly talk about hash map. Said, I don't remember exactly what does what, but the basic difference is, like, if you have a list, it depends on what you want to do. Like, do you want to you want to be able to remove items fast? You want to be able to add items fast in your list, or you want to be able to view the items fast? Like, depending on your requirements or your needs, that's what you can use. I don't remember which one is better for what. Unfortunately, I'm not able to tell you that, but I think Fahim is going to go through that in class tomorrow, or you can Google up. But it's basically whatever like you're doing. I believe the memory is if you delete one. It may be, I don't remember exactly. I'm not going to comment on that. But this is kind of, in a basic sense, array list and linked list. So let me just create a new class, and now I'm gonna talk a little bit about hash maps. So let's say use hash map. Let's call this class use hash map. And let us create a main method first. So public static void main PSVM, and hit on enter. So now we have a main. So here it's kind of like the same. With array list and linked list, the big difference here is, let's say hash map, and the big difference is you have to put in like 2. We have a key and a value. So instead of just simply saying like string, you have to put comma and another one. So it has to be like 2. We have one key. The first one is gonna be the key. Whenever you ask for something, when you like do a loop or something, you want to call on a specific index, you have to call on the key value. So in this case, let's just say string. You can say like integer, boolean, It simply depends on what your needs, what you're doing basically. But I'm just gonna put in a string, and let's just call this map for simplicity. New hash map. So we basically created a simple hash map. Again, if you look in the array list, we have one string here, but in hash map, we basically are using two. I have double string. And let me show you how this works. If I say map dot, instead of saying add, we simply can say put. And within put, the first one is going to be the key value. So if I say, let's keep it simple, the way Mr. Mafi showed. So if I say USA, hash map will be great for some naming frameworks. Yeah. All right. So the first key is USA, and USA. Then I'm gonna say like New York. So whenever I call on the list, I can. If I say USA, it's gonna print out New York for me. Or it's actually gonna print out both, but I can call on the key value, which is USA, and it's gonna print out this. So let me just put a couple of more of these. Map.put UK. And actually, the capital of USA is not NY. I think it's Washington. I suck at that. Okay, UK and London. Let me just create one more. Sweden, Stockholm. So now I have added a couple of items to my list, or my map to be precise. And let's just call on one. So I can create a variable. Let's just create a variable called text. And this is going to be equal to map.get. And within here, I can, how I said you can get the index. Let's try if this works. If I say 4, sorry, not 4, 1, and let's see what happens. If I print this out, let's see what happens. I want to get 1. And it's going to give me null because it doesn't print out by index. I think I told you it prints out by index. I was wrong. It doesn't print out by index. So let's just say USA. And now run this and see what happens. When I print out USA, it's going to show me Washington. So if you do something like this where you create a variable and you say map.get, it doesn't actually work by saying the index number. If you say 1, Java is going to think that whatever, not the first one, but one of these are 1. But in this case, that's not right. So I have to specify with a string value, which is, in this case, I can try with Sweden again. So when I say Sweden, it's going to give me Stockholm. So this is how you can put in multiple values. Let me replace string with integer. And let me put an integer value here. Let's say this is 1, 2, 3. So now if I do this, in order for me to get London, I would have to put in 2 because that is the key value. So let's run this and see what happens. And I get London. And actually, if you want to iterate through this, if you want to iterate through a map, you kind of have to use, a for each loop, but you have to use a different, it's a bit different than a regular, like a regular for each loop where you just give a local variable. And let me show you guys. If I say 4, and here I have to say map dot, and map is actually an interface. So if I say map dot, and it's gonna be the first one, map dot entry. And here I have to specify again, because I'm using an integer and string. I have to specify again by saying integer and string. And then whatever I want to give, local variable, local name, So let's just say this can be entry. And then after this, I have to put in the name of my hash map, which is map, and I have to say dot entry set. So this is a bit different than, our regular for each. For regular for each is something like this. So here you have to, like, because we're using integer and string, we have to specify that by saying map.entry, and map is an interface, as I said. This map, uppercase, all right, I'm gonna repeat this. Let me just delete this and do this again. Let me just create a regular for each loop. If I say map, for, and then if I say like, this is not gonna work. Like, it doesn't work like that, because in this hash map I have integer and string. So this isn't gonna work. But this is a regular for each loop. So let's just create a for each loop that is suited, that works with maps, hash maps. In this case, we have to say for, and then because hash map is coming from the map interface, we have to say map dot. And when you say dot, you're gonna see an option called entry. Just simply select that, and within this brackets, we have to, specify that we are using an integer and a string. So I simply say integer, and I separate it with a comma, and I say string. And if you look at the for each loop above, when we say string x, this is kind of the same. In this case, I'm just using integer and string. So now I can simply say whatever I want to call this, and let's call this entry. And now I have to say map, and this map, it's not the same as the map in the beginning of the for each, because the map with uppercase M, this is a interface, and this map is simply the name of my hash map. To make it a bit more simple, let's just say hash map, and I'll rename this. It may be confusing otherwise. And here I have to say hash map dot. I have to select the entry set. Just 1 second. I need to throw a message to someone. All right, I'm back. All right, so now we're done with that. We can simply say system.out. And here, because we created a local variable to use, so we simply say entry dot. And because we want to, first we want to get the key value. So I can say entry dot get key. So this is going to get the key value, which in this case is 1, 2, 3. And then just to keep it a bit, to make it more clear, let's just separate it with a comma in the, middle. This is a string. And then let's say entry dot and now we're gonna actually get the value. So this is the key, number 1, and Washington is the value. So we first specify that we're gonna get the key, and then we're gonna get the value. It's a little bit different, but once you do it once or twice, it's gonna stick right there in your brain. Oh, sorry, I renamed. Yeah, I did not see that. There we go. It's the smallest things. Are you able to do for each after hash map, basically? Let me try. I can try that. Dot for each system.out. Apparently it doesn't work. Cannot resolve method print line. So I guess it doesn't work. And this is kind of like a basic map structure. Here's another thing, because let me just go to API and let's search for Java map. Map is an interface, so and it implements classes. We have a bunch of things. We have hash map, which we're talking about, and Mr. Mafi introduced, hash. He didn't really introduce it, but he briefly talked about it. Hash table. Then we have yeah, a couple of other things which are pretty unfamiliar right now. But I'm gonna talk about, I think, those three who are the most common. Let me just remove this. You can simply say like this as well, map, because map is an interface and new hash map implements it. So what we can do? We can say, let's create a new one, and I will show you another example. Because the reason why we don't always use hash map, why there are so many other classes, is because even if I have 1, 2, 3 in a descending order, it's not always guaranteed, because hash map doesn't guarantee you that. You can run this like multiple times. I'm pretty sure you're gonna get in a descending order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. But if you have a big list, if you have maybe hundreds, thousands, there is no guarantee that you're gonna get it in this order. It's not guaranteed. Like hash map kind of decides on its own, if that makes sense. So if you have like a big list, don't use hash map necessarily. We can use something else, and we can use something called linked hash map. So let's import that. Let's say linked hash map, and again I'm gonna specify with integer, and I'm gonna say that I have integer as a key value, and then a string, and let's call this linked hash map with a lowercase l, and this is gonna be equals new linked hash map. And when we say linked hash map, the difference here is, let me just remove this. Let me just remake it for a linked hash map. Let's add a couple of things. And this time I'm not gonna add it in in order. I'm not gonna put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a bunch of random. I have to say dot put as well. I'm just gonna put random order. So let's say the first one is 4, and this holds a value of 4. Let's create a new one, dot put, and let's give this a number of 8, and the value is 8 as well. Dot put 5, 5, put, let's say 9, 9. So what linked hash map do is, it doesn't matter in what order you put it in, it's always going to print out the way you put it. Now it says 4, 8, 5, 9. When you use linked hash map, it's going to print out in this order, 4, 8, 5, 9. And let's actually try to run this and see what happens. Let's run. So it says 4, 8, 5, 9. So this is called a linked hash map. Whatever order you put it in, it's going to print out in the exact same order. Let's actually try to use hash map and see what happens. I'm just going to replace all of the linked hash maps. Let's run this. Now you see it says 4, 5, 8, 9. It reordered for me. I mean, I say it 4, 8, 5, 9 in my code, but when I used hash map, it reordered to 4, 5, 8, 9. So it came in a descending order. So that is the difference, linked hash map and hash map. We have another thing which is pretty popular. These three are I think the main maps. And we can also say tree map. Let's give it an integer and string as well, and let's call it tree map equals the new tree map. And this is kind of the same as hash map, except in hash map it doesn't give you in order always. It can give you randomly. But when you use tree map, it's pretty like self-explanatory. Like it gives you in a descending order in a tree fashion. So let's use tree map. Let's replace all the hash maps with tree map, and let's run this and see what happens. 4, 5, 8, 9. So it gives you in a descending order. So these are the three that I learned, and there are a bunch of others. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't think you need to go through this, but if you have time, sure, why not? I think that was like most of the maps basics. Thank you. Actually, Mr. Mafi, he showed us where we can create like multiple array lists, and then we can call on those array lists with our map, with our hash map, or linked hash map. So that's what I'm gonna do here. Let me just remove this, or let me just create a new class. Java class, and let's just call this. This is the hardest part, like naming something. Let's just call this testing 101. Let me create a main method, public static void main. Pretty straightforward. And I just want to show you guys another thing. I had a lot of problems understanding the static, this public static. So I kind of like Google around a lot. And now I know what it does, but here's another thing you can do. Instead of having it inside the main, you can put it outside the main, and you can simply put static in front, like this. I don't know exactly when you would use this, but I'm just showing you that this is also possible. And static basically means that it can be used anywhere. All right, so let me just create 2 array lists. Basically, my goal here is that I'm going to create 2 array lists, and then I'm going to create a map that is going to call on those array lists and iterate through those items, basically. So let's just create 2 array lists. Let's say array list, and I'm going to put in a string, and let's call this Chinese dishes. I want to talk about food because I love food. Who doesn't? So Chinese dishes. So I'm just gonna add a bunch of items to this. So here's another thing. When you when you type in IntelliJ, if you like we are saying Chinese dishes. If you just say CH, it's gonna give you the whole thing. You don't have to type it all out. So you just click on enter, and that works pretty well. So because we are using array list, we can say Chinese dishes dot add. After this, I'm gonna go through stack and queue, and that is different. We don't use add. We use different push, pull, and whatnot. But let's just stick with this for now. Let's say that an item is called fried rice. Let me just copy this and add 3 items. Roasted duck and sushi. Pretty fair. And let me just copy this array list, paste it down here, and let me rename this to all right, I'll add noodles. Chinese dishes dot add noodles. Chinese dishes dot add soup. And okay, so I created another array list, and let's call this American dishes. And American dishes dot add. I'm just gonna copy and paste it a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first one is pizza, fatty food, hot dog, mac and cheese. America runs on Dunkin' Donuts. All right, so now we created 2 array lists. You gotta make it fun when you code, when you program. You gotta make it fun. Otherwise, it's gonna get sometimes it's gonna get annoying. Can you guys hear me? All right, sure. So now that I have added, let's keep it this simple. I have created 2 array lists, and then now I'm gonna create a map. In particular, I'm gonna create a linked hash map because what I want it to print out in the exact order where I put it in. So let's say linked hash map. And then what I can do is I can say string. And here's another thing. When we talk about generics, we didn't actually go through this. I think Fahim wanted to go through this. When we talk about these brackets, we can actually use our own. Like, because I am saying American dishes, I can simply say, I think I have to say like list. All right, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. Let me rephrase. So I have to specify with a string. This is gonna be the key value for this hash map, and then I can say list string. This should work. So, you know, list is an interface, and array list implements list. So it recognizes the array lists. And the first one is string because I wanna, you know, put some info there, which is a string basically. So let's call this universal dishes, and this is gonna be equals new linked hash map. Pretty good start. And let's just say, and you know, when we use array list, we used add, but when we talk about maps, if I say universal dishes, then I have to say put. So it's kind of the same as add. So here I have to specify with a string value. Let's say common dishes in America. And then I separate it with a comma, and then I have to call on, because I have an array list called American dishes. I can simply just call American dishes in here. So whenever I print this out, it's gonna say common dishes in America, and it's gonna print me out like pizza, burger, hot dog, mac and cheese, specifically in this order because I used a linked hash map. We can try with hash map later. Let me just create another one. Let me just copy this and paste and create one for Chinese. There we go, and common dishes in China. Let me just add another item, Chinese.add babies. All right, so let's just create, because we're using a map interface, we can't go with the traditional for each. We have to say for. And remember when we said map dot, because this is the interface, so we say map dot entry. And let's see if this works. So map dot entry, and then this local variable is going to be called entry, because whenever I iterate through this, I want to call an entry. And it's going to call on the universal dishes. This has to be dot entry set. This is pretty standard. Like, this may seem, if you're not familiar with this, this may seem like kind of like alien or out of this world, but it's most likely always going to be like this. So it's pretty easy to get a hang of it. So we just do whatever we did in our hash map, pretty much system.out, then we say entry.getKey, because the key in this case is common dishes in America and common dishes in China. That is the key. And let's separate it with a string to have some space in between, and we can say entry.getValue. And value in this case is American dishes, which is basically an array list that holds a bunch of items. Oops. So this should work pretty well. Let's try to run this and see what happens. Okay, you see common dishes in America, pizza, burger, hot dog, and so on. Common dishes in China, fried rice, roasted duck, and so on. So that's kind of like how you can use multiple, list maps together. And that's not it, actually. I'm not going to go through this, but you can even call on you if you have, another class. Let's say you have a class with a whole bunch of stuff inputted there within this like diamond brackets. I call this diamond brackets because I saw it online. It just makes me realize, or makes it easy for me. So you can basically call a class here. If I say book, this should call to a class called book if I had one. So there's a lot of things you can do. It's just a matter of practice. All right, so let's move on to, I think I've cleared up most of what I wanted to talk about in maps. So I think we can move to stacks and queue. You guys have any questions so far? I can do it if you want. I'll push it and then I'll share it to Hangout. Just 1 second. Sorry about that. The last part, Sam, which exactly? Which part are you asking about? Like, you want me to go through the maps again? All right, so let me go through this one more time. I'm gonna delete this one. Because now I have 2 array lists, I wanna iterate through them together, and I wanna be able to give these array lists key value. So instead of printing out these separately, I could do that. I can say like for string x equals to Chinese. I could do this separately for them both. It's gonna give me the same result, but I don't want that. I want it to be a bit cooler. I want them able to have a key value, a message that it shows. So let me just delete the for each loops. There we go. And I'm creating a linked hash map, and the reason for that is when I use a linked hash map, it is going to print out in the exact order that I put everything in. Let's try with hash map right now. Hash map. And we have to say string. We don't have to say string. We can say whatever. If I want to say integer, that works just fine. But because I want to be able to show a message, in this case, I am using a string. And then I call on list string. Because list is an interface and array list implements the list interface. I could do like this to make it easier, maybe. And then let's call this universal dishes equals a new hash map. So now what I gotta do is I could call on universal dishes dot put because I want to add something. Put is equals to add. It's just that map is a different interface. And the first thing I have to put is the key value, which in this case is a string. It can be anything. So let's just put dishes in America. To be more specific, I'm just gonna add like that. All right. And then because we are like calling on the list interface, we're calling on the array list. We have to separate it by comma, and then I can simply call on the Chinese and American dishes. So let me just say American dishes, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing for Chinese. I'm just gonna replace American with Chinese, and I'm just gonna replace America to China. And then we use a for each loop. We have to say map dot because map is an interface and hash map implements the map interface. So map dot entry. And then I can simply say this. It doesn't have to be entry. This is just a local variable that I'm giving it a local variable name. For me to understand it simply, I can just say let's call it dishes instead. And then I have to say universal dishes dot entry set. And now that we're done with that, let's just print this out. Previously we said entry dot, but because we renamed it, I can say dishes dot and because I want to get the key, in this case, the key is dishes in America and dishes in China. This is the key for the hash map. So dishes.get key, and then I put a plus because I want to have a spacing between them. And then I simply say dishes.get value because I want to get the value, which is American dishes and Chinese dishes, and they have a whole bunch of items. Should be pretty good to go. I forgot a plus. And let's run this. And there we go. Okay, I use the hash map. Let's see what happened. Hash map still printed out in the order I put it in, but then again, there is no guarantee that it is going to print out in this order. So hash map is not reliable in that sense. But it gave me the exact same result for this case. Does that make sense, anybody? All right, cool. Let's move on. Let's create a new class. Let's call this use stacks. And here I have to give a small lecture because otherwise you wouldn't. I think most of you guys know what stack is, but let me just go to the API real quick. Java stack. So the stack is a class, and it belongs to, let's see here, vector, abstract list, abstract collection, object. So this is not an interface, this is just a regular class. And what stack does is, stack and queue, both of them are, you can make it big. All right. Both stack and queue are linear data structures. And the main difference between these two is how the items are removed. When we use stack, we can see it as, let's say when you come home, if you read the book, this is like you should know this reference. When you come home, let's say you have a stack of mails, like, you know, we get mails and we have a bunch of envelopes. So you have a bunch of like mails stacked up together. And whatever you put on top, that is most likely going to be the first priority. Like that is most likely going to be the first one that you're going to open or see. And let's say that you have a stack of maybe 10 envelopes, and whatever you put on top, whenever you come back to that stack of envelopes, you are most likely gonna take out the top one. So that is kind of what's going on in stacks. Whenever you wanna remove something from stack, it always removes the first one. You know, the top one. So we say first in, first out, and it's a shortcut for FIFO. FIFO, first in, first out. And I will show you a couple of examples. Let's create a public static void main. Actually, it doesn't have to be like this always, you know. Sometimes you may have to take an envelope out from the middle of the stack. Yeah, last in, last out, that is the queue, or however you pronounce it. I have a hard time saying it. Oh no, sorry, last in, last out, right? Oh, sorry, that's, yeah, sorry, that's not queue. All right, but yeah. Okay, leave for last in, first out. Yeah, it's a lot of names to keep track of. But let's keep it simple. I just know this one for now, but it doesn't have always have to be like this. Sometimes you have to take out an envelope from the middle and whatnot. So there are different ways to go for that, but I'm not going to talk about that in this class. Let's just implement a simple class. Stack. So we can say stack. First in. Sorry, man. Yeah. So which one? It was last in, last out. Yeah. First out. Whoa. First out. Confusing. Sorry. LIFO. Sorry. In stack we use LIFO. Last in, first out. Basically, whatever we put in last, that's gonna go out first. So sorry, that's my fault, guys. So whenever we remove something from the stack, it's always gonna remove the top one. And let's create a stack. stack, and we have to specify again. Let's say I want to have a string, and let's call this stack with a lowercase s for simplicity, and new stack. Oh, new stack, and then I have to import it. Alt Enter, import class. And it's very similar to, like, array lists and stuff. How we add stuff in that sense. But instead of saying add, or when we use map, we used put. For stack, we have to say stack dot push. So this is kind of like the equivalent of saying add. And here I can say, because I'm using a string, I can let's just say one. Let's say bottom. Let's add another one, stack dot push. Second, middle, stack dot push. Let me add. Oh my God. Let me add 3 items. Stack dot push. Last. And let me just create a for each loop to iterate through this. Yeah, stack of dishes of example. There are multiple examples you can see online. It just depends on how easily it works for you, the explanation. So let's create a for each loop and see what happens. For x string, and let's create a local variable. Let's call it x, and it's going to iterate through stack, which is my name for the stack. And let's print out x, and let's see what happens. It's going to print out in the same order. Nothing special about that. But the main difference between queue and stack is how it is removed, like which item is removed first. So to remove an item, we have to say stack dot pop, and this basically means that it is going to remove. We talked about LIFO, last in first out. So this last item, this is going to be the one that's going to get removed. We can't specify it within pop. We can't say, index number, or we can't do anything. This is it. This is all it does. Removes the last item that was in. So actually, this is it's going to get a lot of for each loops. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm just going to create a new method. Actually, I saw this online. This is not something I did by myself. We can create a method called private static void, and let's call this print. And basically what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create a method that is gonna, iterate through the stack every time I call on print. If I say print stack, this is supposed to print out the whole list for me. This is something I think we're gonna have to learn later as well, because we use stack, queue, hash, map, and so on. But if you look online, there are actually a lot of codes on how you implement these methods. You could implement your own push method. It's gonna be the exact same as saying dot push, but if you're able to create your own push method, your own pop method, I guess that's just gonna help you guys later on in the interviews and stuff. I think Mr. Mafis said that in interviews, that's what they ask you, like how to create your own methods and stuff. So this is my goal. I'm trying to create a method that's gonna print out all of these. So we can say like if sorry, I forgot. Because I'm creating a method, I have to refer it back to the stack, basically, to the stack class. So what I can do here inside the parenthesis, I can say stack, and I can say string, because that is what I'm doing here: stack and then string. So let's say, and then don't forget, you have to create a local variable. Let's call this S. That should work. So basically what I'm gonna say is that if S is empty, basically if this is empty, then print out you have nothing in your stack. This is just the way when I delete all the items, I just want to see that it works properly or not. Otherwise, it's gonna print out the variable S, and let's say top. Actually, this method I found online. I just want to show you guys how you can use this to make life easier. So I don't have to like create a for each loop every time I want to push or I want to pop something. I can just create my own method called print or whatever, and I can simply just call on it like print and then stack. So this is gonna print out the whole stack basically for me. So let's try. Let's see what happens. So when I call on print and then stack, it's saying bottom, middle, and last. And basically why it says top, what I'm trying to show you guys is this item is the top one. So let me just remove a couple of items. Let's say stack.pop. And as I said, we can't specify anything. It's going to remove the top one. And let's print again. Print stack. And let's run this and see what happens. It removes the top one. You see the last got removed. This is basically what it is. Every time you say pop, it is gonna keep removing the top one. Now the middle is the top. So that's kind of stack. That's kind of stack in its basic sense. Let me briefly talk about queue. I know there's probably more we can talk about, but this is as far as I have gotten. So use queue. And let's create a public static void main for this. And when we talk about queue, we can compare it to like a line, grocery line, cinema, when you go to the cinema or when you go buy groceries. If you're first in line to pay, you're always gonna be the first to get out, because it doesn't make sense if you are first in line and someone else comes after you, but they go first. That doesn't make sense, logically in real life. So this is the logic here with queue. Basically, I think it was FIFO. This time it's FIFO. So first in, first out. Whoever comes in first in the list or queue is gonna be the one to go out first. And here's another thing. If I Google for Java queue, it's gonna say that this is an interface. Unlike stack, which is a class that implements from somewhere, queue is actually an interface. And as you can see here, queue implements classes like we have linked list and a couple of other items. I'm going to talk about one specifically called priority queue. There are a bunch of others. So we can't, let me just show you, we can't do like this. If I say queue string, and let's rename this to, let's call this queue equals to new queue. This is not going to work. And the reason for that is, as I said, queue is a interface. So what you're going to have to do here is that you're going to have to rename this. And in this case, I'm going to use priority queue. And this basically, what it does is it prioritizes the first one. Whatever you delete, whoever comes in first is going to get out first. And there is some other explanation for this. I don't know the exact explanation. I haven't really had time to go through it since yesterday. But just know this, a queue is an interface and you can't use it here. You have to use something else. If I just type in queue, you see we have all of this, all of different items, a whole list, which you can kind of explore your way through. But for this, we're going to use priority queue. And let's add a couple of items. So I could say queue dot, and here we see we have add and we have remove. But for queue, we're going to use offer. And this is kind of the same as saying add, or in stack we said, what did we say in stack? Push. So every different interface has their own way of talking, kind of. So that's where we're gonna have to say dot offer, and then here we can simply put any string value because we said string. Let's say 1, and let's do another one, offer 2, and let's add a last one, 3. So now I have 3 items. And let me just print this out to see that everything is working just fine. I'm gonna create a for each loop, create a local variable string called x, and it's gonna iterate through the queue. That's system.out x. Let's see what happens. Yep, no surprise, it just iterates through this. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this method print. I'm just gonna copy and paste it in my queue class. And I'm gonna upload this to GitHub if you guys want. I'm gonna post a link later to what do you call it, Hangouts. Sorry, I'm just so tired. I woke up so early. And let's rename this to queue. All right, so no surprise. When we run through this, it's gonna print out 1, 2, 3. But now the difference is if I say queue dot, and when we want to remove something, we have to say pull, P-O-L-L, kind of like pull. And this is going to remove the first item, which is 1, because that is the item that came in first. And let's try to print this. Let's say print queue. And let's run and see what happens. What is the result? So you see now we have only 3 and 2. And 1 doesn't exist anymore because that is the first item to go in, and that is going to be the first item to go out. FIFO. So that is the main difference between stack and queue. And here's another thing I didn't talk about it. If I say queue.peak, and let's print out again. And let me just remove the poll. A poll is basically remove. Dot poll means that remove, in this case, remove the first item, which is 1. Remove the first item that is in this queue. It is kind of like saying queue dot remove, You can use remove, I think, but it's better to use whatever is given for these specifically. So queue.poll. And then we have something called peak. And I think this basically means that it's gonna look at the first item. I'm not 100% sure. Let's see what happens if I run this. Okay, let me just remove this method and let's do a regular system.out. And let's call on the queue. Queue dot peak. I just want to see, I don't remember exactly, but let's see what it does. Yeah, that's what it is. It gives me the first value in the queue. So peak is basically looking at the first item, no matter what. If I don't have this one, let me remove 1 and let me rerun this. Now it's gonna print out what? That's weird. What happened? 3. I think IntelliJ is messed up, or I'm just stupid. I missed something. Okay, but I don't know this exactly by heart. No, it shouldn't pick up randomly, actually. It should, a peak should be, let me look it up in the API. If I go to queue and let's see what they say in peak. Okay, yeah, retrieves the head of this queue. But this doesn't make sense because the head should be, Okay, here's another thing. Okay, I got it now. You see where I said priority queue? This basically prioritize. If you think about it, TW, it doesn't come before TH alphabetically. T and H is ahead of T and W. So I think that's what it does when I say priority queue. Okay, at least now we learned what priority queue is. So that's pretty good. All right, so it's gonna give me 3 because I'm using priority queue. So it prioritizes, basically looking at the top item. And we can use the similar thing with stack as well. Stack dot, we have peak as well. And this is most likely gonna give me the last item. All right, it's 8 o'clock. I think I've gone through whatever I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you guys have any questions, but if you guys have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave it to Fahim. And actually, I have to be going, unfortunately.
Hey, thank you so much, Ibrahim. That was a good demonstration. If anyone would like to, look at the code, he will upload it in GitHub, and then he's gonna send the link in the discussion.
Yeah, definitely. All right, you take over. I'm actually gonna have to leave, but
I got it.
yes.
All right.
If anyone have problem with the Windows, I guess we'll take it in class tomorrow.
Yeah. Wait, so you
Or
guys can
anyone
see my
is-
screen yet? Or I have a black screen right now. Can you guys see it? All right. So basically, we're gonna just do a simple database connection right now. Hold on. Can we have a break, please? I mean, I wanna finish it before 8:30 or something, because I wanna save the last 30 minutes for helping out, trying to help out people installing anything. All right, and it's already past Maghrib anyways. So, all right, so everyone should have MySQL installed already. So if you go to your command line or terminal, just log in MySQL right now. So I'm gonna log in. I'm gonna type in MySQL u roots and -p. Now I'm gonna press enter, and I'm gonna enter the password that I did when I made this, when I created my MySQL thing. Okay, so this should pop out for everyone. Let me know when you guys see this right now. Does everyone have it opened? I'm just gonna go over MySQL. Alright, so 2 people so far, I'm gonna do this part slowly. I want you guys to do it along with me as well. Alright, so once you have MySQL open, right? You basically can work on your queries right now, right? So everyone just type in show databases right now, and make sure you end it with a semicolon, because that's how in MySQL, that's in SQL, that's how you perform a query, right? So let me know if you guys got something like this showing up. So here it shows that I have a database, and I have these database right now, right? PNT, I created a database. I created that database yesterday, right? So let me know when you guys see this step right here, when you guys see something. You guys all see a database table. It shows error. So make sure you're in MySQL. You're into MySQL and it says MySQL, and then just type in show databases. Remember, it's plural. Databases. All right, let me just open up Erect. Is it on? All right. So JDBC MySQL, right? Okay. So open MySQL. How can we do it? We can just simply MySQL P and then enter your password. For Windows, open MySQL command. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now in 2, now you want to see database. So you're gonna type in right, and you should see a table of all right. So you guys are up to step 3, right? So you guys see this table right here. Right here, okay? Now let's if you don't have a database created, let's create one, right? So I think it's simple. Let me just check my notes. Yeah. So you want to create a database, right? So let's not, that's if you haven't already, right? So if you don't have a database, then create one. Right? How can we create one? We could just say create database and then that name of database, right? So let's create one right now. So everyone create a database and let's call it employees, all right? Since we've almost used this example in SQL, I'm pretty sure you guys dealt with employees or something. All right, so make sure to enter the semicolon and then press enter. And you should get a query OK and 1 row affected, right? You guys should get this message. All right, so everyone sees the expected outcome. Everyone sees this right here. So once you created your database employees, you guys should see this, right? And now type in show databases again, and you should see employees. So you see employees right here, right? Everyone sees employees. All right. So show databases again and see if the database you created is there, right? Now we want to, let's say we want to create a table in that database. But first, we need to go inside that database, and to enter that database, I think it was, yeah, we have to use, right? So to enter that database, type in use and name of database, right? So our database was employees, so we're just gonna say use employees like this, right? And we're gonna hit enter. And it's gonna say database changed. All right, let me know when you guys are in that step. All right, so now we're inside employees database, right? So let's see what this let's type in show tables, right? It shows us what tables are inside this database, and we should see an empty set, right? The reason we see an empty set is because we haven't created a table yet. So let's create a table now. Let me make sure my notes. Okay. So now we want to create a table, right? Do you guys remember from SQL how we created a table, right? It was basically create table, right? And then whatever the name of table, right? Let me just put that in square brackets. And then it's followed by what? It's followed by basically the um, the values, right? The parameters. We're not initializing the value. We're just declaring basically, right? So we could have something like you could have ID, right? Employee ID, and we could give that, and then it's followed by how many, the space of it, like how, or like what type it is. So if we're dealing with ID, we're just gonna say integer, right? So we're gonna say int, and this is gonna be our this is gonna be our primary key, right? Each table, they're gonna have their own primary key, and primary key is supposed to be unique, right? So employee ID, we're gonna give primary key because everyone's gonna have a different employee ID. No one's gonna have the same employee ID. Hence, we're gonna assign it the primary key. So we're just gonna type in primary key, and we don't want people to we don't want this to be a null type, right? We don't want it to be empty. We want someone to enter the information. We don't want it to be null, right? So you're gonna type in not null, right? So now I think we put a comma after this. Yeah, I think we put a comma, right? Let me just be sure. Yeah. So that's an employee ID, right? And now what other things you can put for an employee, right? So let's change this to employee, right? So we could put a name, right? And we could put social security, but we're just gonna keep it pretty simple, right? We're not gonna deal with that much. So we're just gonna have ID and we're gonna have a name, right? So let's have employee name. I could do first name and last name, but I don't want to spend that much time on this, right? Just something pretty simple. So employee name, what kind of data type is it gonna be? Is it gonna be integer type? No, right? What's basically the string of SQL, right? It's basically called varchar, right? You can type in varchar. Varchar means variable characters, I think, and it could be any characters, right? It could be like numbers, letters, basically special characters, whatever. And now we need to give it a size. So we're gonna put in parentheses, and now we need to give it an appropriate size. If I say 100, is that an appropriate size for a name? No, right? No one's gonna have that long of a name. So let's give it an appropriate size. Let's just say 30, right? And now we're gonna press space. Should we should we make this not null? Yes or no? We want people to enter in their name, right? We don't want it to be a null value, so we're gonna say not null. So we basically have the ID and the name done, right? And now let's do one more last thing. Let's do date of birth, right? So we're just gonna say employee DOB, right? And here we're gonna what kind of data type is it gonna be again? Uh, is it gonna be integer, varchar? What sounds reasonable? When you're dealing with date of births, right? You're dealing with dashes and or sometimes the name of the month or whatever. So you're gonna use varchar, right? But our format our format for date of birth is going to be something like, you know, like something like that, or like that, right? So that's no more than 10 characters. So we're just going to use the size is going to be a 10, and we're not going to have it no. Okay, so this is our last thing we're declaring, right? So we're going to have to put a parentheses, right? We don't need any more commas because we're not adding anything after that. So we're going to leave it like this, and we're going to put a semicolon, right? So let me just be sure. Yeah. All right. So does this look familiar to you guys? You guys remember you guys were doing this in SQL, right? Yeah. All right. So now let's go back to our our command prompt, our terminal, and we're going to create a table, right? But it's all going to be done in one line. So it's good to like have it written down somewhere else so you know what to type. So we're just going to type in create table, and I'm going to say employee, and I'm going to put in the parentheses, right? And I'm going to put in employee ID and primary key not null, followed by a comma, employee name for car 30 not null, and employee DOB for car 10 not null. So I'm basically writing this whole thing down in one line. Basically, it looks confusing. It looks confusing to read it like that, but I'm basically writing this down. So let me know when all you guys have entered, wrote this down, and then press enter, and it should say query OK, 0 rows affected. All right. So let me know when you guys are up to that step. Just copy and paste this into the thing. All right. All right. So let me know. I'm gonna wait for like 1 more minute, and I'm gonna move on. All right. Okay. So now we created a table, right? So now let's go back to our terminal, and let's type in show tables right now. Let's type in show tables again, and you should see a tables in employees, right? Um, it's called employee, right? This wasn't okay. Yeah. So my database is called employees, right? But I created a table called employee, right? I should have said something like employee information or something, employee info. But you guys should see something similar like this, right? Do you guys see this box right here? Everyone has that in their screen? All right. Let's move on. Now we want to insert some information, right, into our table. So let's just add like one name. So first of all, let's see how do we insert. So when we insert, right, we say, can you copy? Yeah, I could copy it right here. Oh, you mean the next one? The next one I'm about to do? All right. So now we want to do an insert, right? So yeah. So we're gonna say insert into. Hold on, I forgot. Yeah. So insert into, and then where we're inserting into, we're inserting into our employee table, right? So we're gonna do it like that. And now we're gonna insert the values, right? So you see how here we have the ID first, and then it's followed by the name, and then it's followed by the date of birth. So we're gonna enter the values right now. So for ID, I'm gonna say something like I'm gonna say something like 1. All right, and then I think it's followed by a comma, right? And now I have to enter the name, right? So the name is a varchar, right? But we don't use double quotations in SQL, right? We use single quotations. So now inside the single quotations, I'm gonna give an employee name. I'm just gonna say John Doe, right? Okay, now I'm gonna put a comma, and now I have to fill out the date of birth, right? And the date of birth, it takes in 10 characters. So once again, I'm putting in quotes, single quotes, and I'm gonna put 0102-03. Okay, or I could put something like, I could also put 2003 if I want to. So that's, I'm inserting one value right here. Let me be sure. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting something very important. So I'm supposed to add the parameters, right? So here I'm gonna say ID. No. It's employee ID, employee name, and employee date of birth, right? And now here I have to say values, right? Let me just make this presentable. All right. Okay. So yeah, let's do this first right here. So we're gonna we're gonna enter that in our SQL. So I'm gonna say insert into employee. Make sure you spell the name of your table that you created correctly, right? And then we're gonna say employee ID, employee name, and employee date of birth, right? And once you do that, you're gonna hit enter, right? And now it's gonna tell us to enter the value. It basically goes into the next line. How do you come to root? So if you want to exit MySQL, just type in quit. So, or clear, I don't know, but I know that for MySQL, if you want to get out of it, you just type in quit. So now we're gonna type in values, right? So we're gonna say values. So we're gonna hit enter. And now we're gonna type in values. And now we're gonna insert the values we want, right? So we're gonna say 1, followed by the employee name, John Doe, followed by the employee date of birth, right? And then we're going to press enter again. So far we did this part right here, and then we hit enter. Now we're entering the values. So 1, followed by John Doe, followed by the date of birth. Right? And hit enter. And you should get a message saying query okay when affected. Okay, so do you guys do that step? Let me know if you guys did that step so far. Why don't we put a single quotation between 1? Because 1 when we were creating our table, we described one as an integer type, so we don't gotta put quotes. But these are var chars, so we gotta put single quotes. So let me know when you guys done this. Just if you're following my example and the same thing that I was creating, you just simply have to copy this right here and enter it, and then copy this part right here. Let me know when you guys are up to that part so I can move on. So what did we do so far? We just did some SQL stuff, right? We just created a table and we inserted some stuff into the table, right? That was all SQL stuff that we learned like a month or two ago from SQL. And we could do more stuff, but we're just going to keep it simple today. So once you've done this, now you want to see what kind of information is in there, right? So do you guys remember the query to see the information from your table? So from our employee table, how are we able to see all the information in that table? It's a basic SQL query right here. So what do we do? Anyone? Yeah, we use a star, right? So what word do we use? We use what? Select, right? So yeah, so we're gonna say select star from, and what's our table name? Employee, right? And we're gonna hit it with a semicolon and hit enter. And now you see our employee table, right? So you see employee ID, we have 1. Employee name is John Doe. Employee date of birth, it's this. And you could put in more information if you'd like to, if you would want, right? But 1 is enough for right now. We're gonna use Java, and we're gonna retrieve it. We're gonna retrieve that information right now. But I want to show you guys how to do this from SQL. So is everyone done with this part? So select. All right. So now let's move on to Java, right? So everyone open up IntelliJ. Let me just, all right. So make sure you open up a package and create a class. So I'm just gonna call this package JDBC demo. And inside this, I'm gonna create a class, and I'm gonna say connect to MySQL demo. Right? It's a long name, long class name, but it's whatever. All right. So everyone created a class, right? So now here's the thing you need to do, right? So once you create your class, you can just create a main method real quick. So just type in psvm. All right. So now I want you guys to understand this, right? So how are you gonna have access to our MySQL database, right? We're gonna need something inside. We're gonna need something, right? And what is that something? That something is basically the connector to Java, the J connector, whatever, right? So if you haven't already, just right click on your project folder and right click and say new directory if you haven't. And when you create that new directory, just type in lib. I already have a lib folder, that's why I can't create it. So make sure you guys create a lib folder. Let me know when you guys are done with that. So just right click right here on your main on your project, new directory, and create a lib. Name it lib. Short for library. Just make it lib. Let me know when you guys have done that. Alright, it shouldn't take that long, right? It's pretty simple. So now I want you to guys, you guys would need to go to MySQL downloader connector J, I think, to get the jar file. If you have it downloaded, just make sure you just get the jar file at least. So MySQL downloads connector. So we're gonna need to download this. So since I'm on a Mac, it's platform independent, right? And I'm gonna click on download right here, and just say no thanks, start my download. Hold on, let me give the link if you guys haven't. I'm gonna post the link in the chat. So you're gonna want to go there. This will help you connect Java through MySQL, right? It's the official Java database connector driver for MySQL, right? So you're gonna enter that website. You're gonna hit download, right? You're gonna actually, I think it was this one, right? Zip, yeah. Sorry, you guys are gonna click on this one, the zip archive. So once you guys click on zip, you're gonna click on download zip, which is the bottom one. Once again, it's this one right here. Download. For Windows, it's the same thing. Same thing, exactly like Windows. So make sure just click on the website I linked in the chat, and just click on download, right? Just download the zip. Make sure you download the zip archive. So you're gonna hit download, go scroll down and just say no thanks, just start my download. So now you're gonna download a zip folder. You're gonna open it, and inside this zip folder, you're gonna expand it, and you're gonna see a .jar file, right? So I want everyone to copy that jar file. Just hit right click, and I can't copy it here. Wait, hold on. Okay, so just have it opened up if you can. If it doesn't show the copy, just have the window open up, right? So now you're gonna go to your IntelliJ. You're gonna go inside your lib folder, and you're gonna drag it. You're gonna drag the file there. So drag the jar like how I'm gonna do it. Just drag it to the lib folder. But I already have it inside my lib folder, so I'm not gonna drag it. But if you guys haven't, do that. Just drag it inside your lib folder. So the .jar file, right? Make sure you guys paste it inside your lib folder. Let me know when you guys have done that so far. I'll wait like one more minute. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Or if you guys would like me to go back a step, let me know. Don't be shy. Because the thing I'm showing is just basic database connection, right? The one that Mr. Mafibai introduced is like intermediate, advanced level stuff. Even I get, it's hard for me as well. So I've been learning the basic stuff this week, and I want to share with you guys. So right here, I just downloaded it to, I just moved it to my library, right? My lib folder. So now once I have it inside my lib folder, what you want to do is make sure you're IntelliJ. You're going to click on IntelliJ, and actually you're going to click on File, and you're going to click on Project Structure. So let me know when, once you're in Project Structure, right, you're going to want to click on Modules. So make sure you're on Modules, and now right here you're going to see a plus tab, a plus sign, right? You're going to click on plus, and it's going to say, what do you want to add in, right? So we just moved a jar file. So we're going to want to add a jar file. So we're going to click on jar, and where you want to go to your lib folder, right? So you're going to go to lib, and you're going to click on your jar, and you're going to say open. I already have it, that's why I'm not going to open it. So make sure you're going to, all right, so I could repeat the step again. All right, so let's say once your .jar file is moved to your inside your lib folder, you're going to want to go to file, and you're going to want to go to project structure. So once you gone to project structure, on the left hand side you will see modules, right? You're going to click on modules, and then once the modules tab opens up, you're going to see a plus sign right here. You're going to click on the plus sign, and it says, what do you want to add, right? You want to add jars or directories, you want to add a library, or you want to add a dependency, right? But we just want to add a jar file, right? So we're going to click on jars, and then it's going to say, where's that jar file located, right? So this is my project folder where my lib folder contains, right? And you see lib right here. So I'm going to click on lib, and then I see my jar file. I'm going to click on jar, and I'm going to say open. So just open it, and once you opened it, right, you're going to want to make sure you check on this and hit apply, and then press OK. And once you press OK, you guys should be good. Let me know when you guys have done that, if you guys would like me to repeat the step. Alright, so once you downloaded the connector jar and you place it into your lib folder, so now you're gonna click on file, and you're gonna click on project structure, right? And from project structure, you're gonna see modules. And the project settings, under project settings, you can click on modules, and you're gonna double click it, and right here it should open up something like here. So you're gonna see source path dependencies. It'll be under dependencies tab, right? And then you're gonna click on the plus sign, and then you click on one, which is jars or directories, and it's gonna open up the file path, and then it's saying where is that located, right? Where's the jar file located? So it's gonna be located on my project name, which is mentoring, and then my lib folder. So under lib folder, I see a .jar file, right? So I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna press open. Once I press open, I'm gonna press apply. I'm gonna press apply, right? Make sure this is checked, right? Apply, and then OK. And let me know when you guys have done that. Remember, the video will be up on YouTube as well, so you guys can go back if you guys are still having issues. But you can still feel free to ask me to repeat a step. All right. So have you guys done that so far? All right. I want everyone to be in that step so far. So anyone fall behind, don't be shy. Just let me know. I mean, you guys are gonna be, you guys are paying $4,000 for this course, so might as well just get everything you can. Well, it's just basically, I'm just a student like you guys, mentoring you guys, so don't feel shy. Just if you guys have any help, just let me know. All right, so I'm gonna look at Aisha cartoon screen real quick. I made you presenter, Aisha. Unmute.
Okay.
All right. So
Did you see my screen?
yeah, I could see your screen. All right, so just press cancel once again. I just want to be sure. So cancel.
What?
Yeah, can you hit cancel? Yeah.
Okay.
Cancel from that as well.
This one?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So you don't have anything. You don't have the thing inside your lib folder, right? So you're gonna want to download that the thing. The
This
jar.
one?
No. This thing I sent it on link. I'm gonna send it on link again.
Okay, let's see.
Make sure to check your chat. Yeah, the connector J. So I just posted it on the chat right now. So whoever's having the same issue as her, follow along with her, right?
Oh, this one?
Yeah. So you're gonna need to download the connector J. Okay. So she's working on Windows, so it'll be good for you guys. So now you want to scroll down.
This one, right?
Yeah, and you see the zip archive? Yeah, the bottom one. Just download. Scroll down. No thanks, just start my download.
Yeah. Open it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, just open when done. Or you can double click on the file. On the left. Yeah. Or is it still downloading? Yeah, just double click right there.
Okay.
It says 3.6 out of 3.6 MB. So I'm not sure if it's still downloading or not. Can you go to your downloads folder?
Yeah, now it's...
Okay, now it's opened. All right, so now you're gonna want to extract it. So click on extract all.
Which one?
Extract all. You see on the top, go a little top, right, top. You see extract all?
Oh, okay. All right.
To the right. Yeah, click on that.
Here?
Yeah. Double click. Okay. Yeah. So copy that. The jar file. The MySQL connector Java 5.1.
Okay.
Top of README. No. Not that one. Not that one. Hey, first of all, I'm not sure if that's extracted or not. I'm not familiar with Windows. So can you go? Wait, hold on. I'm gonna ask people in the chat. Is that extracted? If you can see, it's not. It's not yet, right? So, right click.
Here?
Yeah, right click it. Yeah, you have to click on extract again. Go back. Yeah, click on extract again. Yeah. Yeah. See where it says extract all? Yeah. Click on. Yeah. Click. Yeah, that one right there. And yeah, extract. Yeah. If you have WinRAR, it would be easier, but it's all right. How to see the table's info in MySQL? Just select star from the table name. And make sure you enter the semicolon. All right, so now you're gonna click on that. Yeah, double click. No, actually, it's not. It's not there. X that out. Exit out. Yeah, can you close that window? No, can you close the window? We're not dealing with that file so far. We're not dealing with downloads folder. Okay, so just exit out. So far, you already extracted it.
What?
Can you move that MySQL connector Java 5.143 screen away? Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Click on it. Yeah, close. Okay, so now click on that one right here. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Double click on this one. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't extract for you. It should be a .jar file. So just click on that. Double click on it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. All right. So it should work. All right. So just copy that and paste it into your library folder.
Here?
Yeah. Just drag it there.
Oh,
Or you could paste it. Just paste it. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Expand it and it should be there, right? All right. It didn't work. Paste it. Just drag it there now.
Yes. Please stop here.
Don't let go.
Okay.
Oh, where is it now? All right. Do it again. Live it inside. Yeah. Right there.
I cannot see now.
Yeah. I don't think it's working. I think it has to. Even though it says the jar file, I think it's not extracted fully. It says executable jar file. Wait, anyone else working in Windows? How'd you guys do it? It's an extract folder. I mean, I wish Ibrahim was here. Just drag it properly. So so don't freeze or anything. Just make sure you go to the lib folder. Did you let go? No, when it gets stuck, don't let go.
Okay.
Yeah. Just battle through this freezing thing. Yeah. I'm gonna have to use team here to help you out. It's not it's not decompressed yet. So go to downloads. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. It's not compressed. So go back.
Back.
Yeah. Go to your downloads folder. Okay, that is your downloads folder, right? See the pink on top as Syed by said. So you see the compressed folder tools? Yeah. Click on that.
Here.
Click on extract. Extract all. Yeah. Click on extract all again. Hold up. Where does files will be extracted to this folder? Create. Do you want it to actually create a folder in your desktop? Just type in. Press cancel real quick.
Okay.
And right click on desktop and create a desktop folder.
Let's see. I need to make a new folder?
Yeah. And just rename it to oh yeah, there probably is. Okay, we're gonna check. Just name it anything you want real quick. All right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Can you go to your downloads folder real quick? Can you go to date modified and click on that? No. You see date modified? Oh, so you see name and then date modified. So just click on date modified. So,
Yes.
click on, you see date modified, you see the name checkbox on the top?
Here,
No. Do you see the name checkbox? Yeah.
Name.
And that, yeah, you were just right there. A name, go up, up. Yeah,
Yeah.
right there. And right to the right, you see date modified, right?
Oh yeah.
Just click on that. All right. So,
This one?
that's the compressed zip. So Siam, is that the one? Yeah. All right. So just click on that. Wait, no, that's not it. Okay, that's not it. Yeah, it's a zip. It's still a zip. Yeah. So, yeah. So right. Yeah. Extract all. Click on extract all. Which is to the right. Extract all. Yeah. And save it in your desktop. Browse. And yeah, desktop. Okay, it's not there. Okay, just press OK. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah, extract. All right, hopefully this works. So where was the other file that was extracted? I don't know. That seems weird. So whoever's having issues in Windows like this, hopefully you followed along and fixes your stuff. So do you guys mind if I end like in 9:15 or anything? Like an extra 15 minutes? I just want to go over that. Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, don't worry, Sabine, I got you at the end. All right, you can go to your desktop now.
This one, right?
And is it? Yeah, click on that. I'm not sure. No, I think it's the first one. The first one. Yeah, the first one. Yeah, right there. There you go.
This one?
Oh, wait, what?
No, last one maybe.
Yeah, check the
No,
last one. Yeah, probably. No, it's not the last one. It's the first one. Yeah, it's the first one. Because you saved it in desktop. All right, so just copy and paste that. The jar file. Go back. No. The MySQL connector. Forward. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah. Copy and.
Paste to here.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now it's there. Just go to File.
Here, right?
Wait, did you press Enter when you pasted it in? No. Yeah, okay, so click on File, Project Structure. Yeah, click on that. All right, so now you're gonna see left side modules. Yeah, click on that. And now you're gonna click on Dependencies. Click on Dependencies on the tab. Under Name. Yeah, under the right side. On the top. You see where it says name project 9? Yeah. All the way in the top. You see where it says project 9 as the name? No. Go top. Top.
Oh, here?
Yeah. So you see under it, it says paths and dependencies. Click on dependencies. Oh, no. Don't delete that. Press Control Z.
Control G?
Yeah.
Z?
Yeah. Again? No. Keep doing it again until... Press it like 3 times. Another time. Another time. Another time. Another time. Okay, so just type in project 9. All right. Okay, so you see dependencies under it? No. Under the name? Yeah, click on that. Yeah. So now, now click on add. Do you see the add all the way in the right? On the
I
right,
can see.
it's the green arrow. I mean the green plus sign. No.
Here, right?
Yeah. That one. Yeah. Click on the first one.
Okay.
And now
And
you're gonna
go
click on project 9. Yeah, click on it. Go to lib.
and leave. Wait.
And you're gonna click on MySQL.jar. Just click on that. Yeah. Okay. Press OK.
And then okay.
Yeah. And click on the check mark. You see the white box?
Which one?
You see the white box? Click on it. To the left of it. Yeah. And press apply and then press OK. Alright, so you've done that? Alright, so let me go back to my screen. So hopefully everyone's up to that part right now. Alright, so once we've done that part, can everyone see my screen? Hold on, let me just mute. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Alright, okay, so now we've done, we downloaded, we put the jar in the library, right? Okay, so now let's talk about a simple database connection, right? So when we're dealing with databases, right, we're gonna use MySQL, right? So we're gonna say, was it import? Yeah, it was import java.mysql, I think. Hold on, let me be sure. Forgot what to import. So let me just see connection. Alt enter. Yeah, so it's java.sql. So I'm gonna do java.sql star. So that's what I'm gonna import. So make sure you import this. When you say star, you're basically downloading everything for SQL, right? And we don't have to say import connection and import other stuff. We could just use one line to import everything. All right. So once we have the import, right? Now we're gonna want to let's say we want to get a connection to the database, right? We also want to create a statement. We also want to execute a SQL query, right? And we also want to, let's process the result set. Okay, so now let's connect to the database, right? How are we going to connect to the database? We're going to need a connection, right? So how are we going to get a connection? We need to create a connection object, right? So we say connection mycon equals, and we're basically assigning it. We're gonna use our terminal and command prompt, right? So we're gonna be using, I'm not sure if it's the appropriate term, but we're using our local host or something. I'm not sure, but we're gonna have to type in driver manager, dot, and then we're going to say get connection, right? So let me just do get connection again. Get connection. So we're going to be using this this one right here. Quick trivia, right? What kind of method is get connection right here? This is an example of what OOP concept right here. Overload, right? Good stuff. So we're going to be using this one right here. We're going to be using the one that takes in a URL, a user, and a password, right? So you see we don't have it fill up right now. So once again, it said it takes in a URL, it takes in a user, and it takes in a password. But we could enter the stuff in this, right? But we could also declare it static and then call it on that. So let's just create a static variable, and I'm going to make it private as well, right? I don't want any other class to have access to it. And I might as well just make it final as well, because I'm not going to, I don't want people to change it. So I'm just going to say private static final, and I'm going to say URL, right? And this is going to be the URL. This URL is going to be the same for everyone. So make sure you guys copy this, right? This is how you access to your local host. So you're going to type in JDBC, right? And after JDBC, you're going to have a dot, right? The 2 dots. And then you're going to have MySQL. Wait, not in capitals. Oops, give me a sec. MySQL. And then you're going to have the 2 dots again. And then you're going to have 2 slashes. Localhost. I hope this works for Windows. I'm not sure if it will, but I know it works for Mac. But it should work for Windows. And then we're going to say 3306, right? So this is basically what's the thing, right? This, you're always going to have this. But then it's going to be followed by the name of your database. Do you guys remember the database we created? What was it called? So if you go to right here and we just type in show databases, we made a database called employees, right? So we're going to use this one right here. So we're going to type in employees right here. All right, so I'm getting an error. Class or interface expected. Okay, I don't know why. Public function string your. Oh, I have it declared outside my class. This will be right here. All right, and now, and what else did it ask for? It asked for URL, which we've done so far. Also asked for our user and our password, right? So public static final, right? And string user, right? So you usually use capital letters for things that are static and final. So right here, I'm going to put the user, right? But what is the user? Do you guys remember? Anyone? How do we access to MySQL? What is the user by default? It's root, right? So we're going to type in root. So now we're going to put in the password, right? And put in whatever password you put for MySQL. So this is my password. It's not going to be the same for you guys, right? And so you have the URL, you have the user and the password, right? There's also another trick where you could type in something like editor fold description, and I could just say something like Fahim's MySQL info, right? And then I could close it right here. I think, right? And then did I do it right? editor fold, editor fold, description. Oh yeah, I'm missing it right here. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. Give me a sec. So, oh, missing the equal sign. Okay, just ignore it. It's nothing. I just want to show something cool and it didn't work. Alright, so here we have our URL, user, and password, right? And now inside this connection, we're supposed to pass in the URL, user, and password. We could just simply say URL, user, password, right? Us writing it here makes it easier for us to put it right here, and we could reuse the URL, user, password later on if we want. If we just, I could have done this manually, having this here and then the user type in root and then my password here, but it looks more professional like this way. Okay, so now you see I'm getting an error, right? It's telling me that I need to surrender this unhandled exception. So we're gonna need to surround it with a try and catch block. So I'm gonna say try. I'm gonna close it right here. So that's my try block, and then here's my catch block. And I'm gonna say exception e.print stack trace. So now that error is gone. So we did the first step, right? The first step was to get a connection to the database, which we did right here. Now we want to create a statement, right? So how do you create a statement? You're gonna say statements and give it a name. I'm just gonna say MySTMT equals, and then you're gonna use the connection, right? MyCon, which is called MyCon, and you're gonna want to create a statement right here. Right? Okay, so now you created a statement. Now you want to execute the SQL query, right? So you're gonna want to create a result set. So you're gonna say result set, and you could say my rs, right? Equals, and then you're gonna use that statement, your statement, dot, and you're gonna say execute query, right? And you saw that you see it takes in a string SQL. So whatever you pass in here has to be in SQL, right? It has to be a SQL query. So let's say I want to get all the information from the table. What would I put in the query? So what would I type in? Remember, we did it in the MySQL already. So how do I get an information of a table? All the information of a table. What would I do? Anyone? Yeah. So we're just gonna say select, right? Star from, and you see these keywords, right? They're part of SQL. And now what was our table name? Our table name was employees. So we're just gonna say employees right here. Okay, we don't have to add a semicolon right here, right? We just add a semicolon right there. You don't have to add it inside the query. Okay, so we executed a SQL query. Now we want to get the results, right? So let's print out something to the console. So I'm gonna use a while loop, and I'm gonna use the result set. So my rs, right? And I'm gonna say while my rs has next, right? And I'm gonna print out, let's say, the ID number plus, and then if you want to get the information, you just type in my rs get string, and you see here I could get the column index or the label, right? So, but I'm gonna get the column label. And what this is basically how I defined my table, right? So if I want to get the ID, what was the what was it named inside the table? It was named employee ID, right? Right. So I have to put this in string. So this will get employee ID, right? And let me concatenate it again. And let's say plus, and I'm going to say my rs get string, and I'm going to get the name, right? So employee name. So I'm going to get the employee name. I'm going to concatenate it again with the final one, which is the date of birth, right? So let me just add a space here. Plus my rs get string employee dob. So let me just enter it right here. So all right. So does that make sense to you guys? It's basically like simple Java, right? I'm just getting retrieving the information. So now let's run this, right? You're gonna want to right click, run. Okay, I got an error, right? Class Java limit is implemented in both. Employees doesn't exist. Oh, my table name is employee, right? Show table. Yeah, my table name is employee. So that was the error, right? So I had an S after there. So let me just run it again. I could run it from right here, in case you guys don't know, and it should work. So now you see it says ID number 1, John Doe, and it prints out the date of birth. So that's how we can perform a simple query, right? We connected it to the database right here, and then we want to create a statement, and with that statement, we're able to execute a query, right? So we see my statement to execute query, and we select star from employee, but we have the results stored into a result set. And here we're using the result set, and we're processing the information, and we're printing out to the console that information. Does that make sense to you guys? So this is like a basic, simple JDBC MySQL connection and simple query. If you guys want, I could show you how to insert, but I think I'll save that for Friday, like the more advanced stuff. So any questions on this? Yeah, so I was already working on this earlier, and I already did insert to database. So here you can see the insert to database, right? It's basically the same thing. I got a connection to the database, I created a statement, but right here we're changing the query, right? So we're inserting values. So here I just say insert into, this is a database that a student database I created, right? So let me just change this to employee, right? And this is not in PNT, it's in employees, right? So it was employee ID. This was employee name, right? And this was employee DOB. And now let me give the value, and let me say Fahim, and I'm gonna use that, right? And I'm gonna run this but first I want you guys to understand if this makes sense, right? It's almost the same thing as the last one that we did, but here we're just changing the query, right? We're just inserting something. The reason I did this in 2 lines so it looks better, so you can see it almost looks like, I could have left it like this. I could have left it like that, right? But I wanted to, you know, look clean and make it look sense. Right? So here, you guys are familiar how to insert stuff into a table. So that's what we did inside in this class. So I'm gonna run this class, right? So before you see that I only have, if I were to describe employees, my employee table. Not describe, select star, right? Select star from employee. You only see one person there. His name is John Doe. But if I were to run this program right here, I'm inserting to and Fahim, right, from Java, right? I'm basically doing this from Java, and I'm gonna run it. And if it should say insertion complete, right? That's what I put in my code. If it works, so it says insertion complete, right? Now let's go back to our MySQL and let's say select star from employee again. And now you see Fahim is there, employee with that employee ID number 2, and January 2, 1993. So that's just an example of how you can use Java and connect it to your database and work around it. So, and this was pretty much the same thing as the example I gave before. Is the only thing different is that we're this part right here when we're executing the SQL query. So we just create a string called SQL, and we give it the insert command with these values, and then we say my statement dot execute update, and we take in the SQL value. So that's just an example. This is just a basic example. Anyone have questions? Remember, you're going to need to use the database you created. So the database we created was employees, and that's after 3306. And the password that you created. This password is not the same as your guys. Your guys' password was different. This is my password. Can I show connect class? All right, so do you mean, although the example I gave before? All right, so here's my connect class. If I were to run this again, right? Don't worry about the stuff right here. So now it shows, remember how I inserted something into the database, and now I ran this again, and it shows Fahim is there now. But we didn't insert using MySQL right here. We inserted using Java. And that is how you connect to your SQL using Java and performing queries. And what Mr. Mafibai showed Sunday was basically that, but he was adding like more stuff as well. And hopefully by the end of this week, it will be more clear. Any questions? If not, that'll be it for tonight. All right, so I'm gonna help Savine. Savine, do you have TeamViewer? It's better if you have TeamViewer. I'm gonna end the training. Savine, hit me up in Google Hangouts. All right. Anyone else have questions? Or else I'm gonna end the session. All right. See you guys tomorrow if you guys are coming to campus and also mentoring. Peace.